Today we are talking about how most of y'all are good little do bunnies. Your achievement junkies, your scouts. Be prepared, always do your best. Some might say apple polishers, some might say just interested in doing well. We want to do well, and we would like to be seen to be doing well, right? I mean, in as much as we're having a conversation with a friend of mine one time, and he said, I always tip the barista really well, whatever coffee shop I'm at. And he says, and I keep trying to make myself do it while their back is turned, and I can't quite bring myself to do it. Like, I want to be seen to be the guy putting in the $5 bill. And I'm like, yeah, I totally get that. And since he said that, like, I have watched myself, and sometimes I do it. Sometimes I do it when their back is turned. And sometimes I'm like, no, I want the appreciation. My question for you, my point of inquiry for you here is, where is this emphasis on achievement, on doing well and wanting to do well, not wanting to fail publicly, not wanting to fail messily, not wanting to fail in terms of wasting time and resources, not wanting to look like a jerk? How is this possibly keeping you from success? How is your desire to do well actually interfering with your ability to actually do well? You dig me? You dig the question? I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this. Where is this bias towards success actually holding you back? Veronica says, the number of things I don't say, the opinions I don't share, the writing I don't publish. Yeah, exactly. The things I don't even start because I don't think I can do well at that, right? Not taking chances, not taking risks. Yep. Where else for all of you? Where is it showing up? Where your desire to do well, which is, again, totally understandable, totally baked into, you've heard me say it 1,000 times. We are tribal animals. We are dependent on the group. We do not want to piss the group off. We do not want to disappoint the group. We do not want to be seen as an idiot in front of the group. Like, this is all straight up survival mechanism stuff. It's not low self-esteem. It's not how you were parented. It's truly, your inner lizard, right? But where is that actually getting in the way? Thinking that my paintings, words have to be like my teachers or models. Oh yeah. Like, if I'm not at that level, then I shouldn't share anything. Yeah. Fear of failure. I just don't start, says Debbie. Yeah. And just as worrying, what if I'm wrong? And maybe some of you had parents like mine. My father was always very interested in the right way to do things. And he would tell you over and here, let me tell you the right way to do things. Here's the one thing you got to know about that. Here's the right way to do that. And like, he really believed that there was a right way, and that if he didn't do it that way and we didn't do it that way, then something terrible was going to happen. Doing tons of research to make sure I don't mess up and then get too intimidated to start. Yeah, good game, right? Julie says, I think I've gotten over it, but it did interfere in undergrad back when I was actually a teenager and didn't want to actually major in music because of the competition in the music school at SUNY Potsdam. So I minored in music. Silly me. Yeah. Didn't even want to acknowledge how great you were or how hungry you were to learn that. Yeah. Callie says, procrastinate because I'm not sure quite how to do it, or I might not do it right. Exactly. Making friends is hard because I'm so afraid I might put people off. Yes. Okay, so I'm really feeling you guys saying this. I hope you're feeling it too, and feeling the tenderness and the strength of desire to do well, and the tenderness of the poor little frightened self who doesn't dare. My parents criticized so many others. I didn't dare try. Oh yeah. I have some family members like that too, where they just spend all day long picking everybody else apart until you start to feel like, oh God, I don't even want to do anything. So my dad liked to point out the right way to do everything. My mother I think she only did this to me. I don't think she did it to my sister. She liked to make everything into a pop quiz. So like, we'd be driving down Southern Illinois and find some little town, and she'd go, why, Samantha, how do we know this is a Louis Sullivan bank? What does a Pyrrhic victory actually mean? How do we know this meal is a complete protein? I got trained into feeling like there was going to be an exam any moment, and I have severe test anxiety, right? So I'd be like, the minute you ask me something, even if I already know the answer, I'm like, I don't know. Beth says, I can see this in other people, but not admit it for myself. Yes, those other people who let their desire for success get in their way, but not me. Yeah, very good. Everybody grab a piece of paper, grab a piece of scrap paper, or if you're like me, a little index card or whatever you got handy, back of an envelope is fine. And grab a pen of any kind, shape or color. And I just want you to make a picture, make a doodle essentially of what it's like when you are letting that overly critical, overly perfectionist, overly judgmental, overly afraid, overly concerned about all the things, when you let that, what it's like inside of you when you are letting that person make decisions. That's all I want you to do. This is not about making art. It doesn't have to be good. In fact, I would prefer it not to be good. Stick people is fine. Crude shapes is fine, best actually. Clark says, yeah, perfectionism, critical, need to stop comparing and just create, especially with AI. People just type and have art now, makes it hard. But does it? I have some theories about this, but we'll get to it. So here we are, 90-second process. Some of you have done this with me before. I'm going to set the timer for 90 seconds. That's it. And you're just going to express, what is it like when you are hearing other people being criticized and thinking, oh, I shouldn't try, or when you're overthinking, or when you're afraid you might put people off, or you're procrastinating, or you think you're not going to do it right, when you've downscaled your dreams, your aspirations, doing all that research, worrying, what if you're wrong? Okay. That's what you're making a picture of, is what does that feel like inside of your head and inside of your body? So there's our 90-second timer. I'm going to do it too. What does it look like when my inner you better do this right or else person is in charge? Just again, stick people, shapes. Just let it go. Don't worry if it doesn't make sense. No one's ever going to see it. This is not about art. If you're sitting here going, my stick people don't look right, this is what I'm talking about, right? You're probably doing it to yourself right now. So notice it and make a picture of it. What does it feel like to put that much pressure on yourself? What is the color? What is the shape? What's actually happening there? What does it seem like? All right, about 15 seconds left. So just keep adding maybe some details. Until you can go, yeah, that's at least part of what it feels like. And there it is. There's our timer. Okay. Me sitting in the dark in the very last row of a theater being totally unnoticed. Yeah. For me, I just drew this big eye. It looks like Walt Whitman's Transcendental Eye a little bit, but it makes me feel like there's somebody like, I'm watching you. You better be doing it right. This big eye in the sky is like on you. Like you are being not just watched, but examined. You are being examined. Veronica says an ever tightening spiral. Oh yeah, I can feel that constriction, right? Like being like a boa constrictor's got you. Yeah. Peeking out from under the covers, afraid to emerge. Yes. Yes. I love this. Okay. Storm clouds, heavy fog on the ground, electricity coming out of my brain with a paper bag over my head, hiding under a table. Fantastic, right? So this is really important. This kind of precision is really important because there's a real difference between, oh, I have fear of failure and I am peeking out from under the covers, terrified, or I am hiding under a table, very small, sitting alone in the corner and watching others walk away together towards sunshine, unaware of me. Yeah, unnoticed. Yeah. Lachey says, hands and mind going in all potential directions, hoping one of them is right. Yeah. So really, in as much as you notice others and witness everybody else on here and go ahead and like each other's posts and, thumbs up each other, can you feel that compassion that you have for other people? And can you feel it for yourself? Edith says, in a cave with bars across the entrance and a raging river out front. Oh my goodness. All right. So this may be a great point of inquiry for you. This may be something that you want to draw more of, or write a poem about, or make some other art about, or do some journaling about, because there's a lot of juice here, right? And if it's happening to you, it's happening to everybody else too. And the more you share about your insecurity and your perfectionism and your fear of being ignored and left out, the more you help me with my fear of being ignored and left out, the more you help me with my perfectionism and my resistance and my fear and my terror and my childlike self that just wants to hide. Right? Good. Okay. So that's part one. We're going to do part two in a minute. but I want to introduce you to something else. There's somebody here for Kermit de Fromage. Hello, Kermit de Fromage. Hello, hello. I want to introduce you to a little thought introduced to me, created by my second husband, the wonderful Steve Ramsey, who's a poet in many ways, and our knight in dented armor. And one time we were talking, and, you know, I was probably complaining about being the person in charge of the committee and having to come early and being in charge of everything and doing all the things. And he said, you know, Sam, he's like, you are going about this all wrong. He's like, people think they can count on you, so they call you to do things, and then you've got more things to do, and then you're extra busy, so you're doing more things. He's like, stop. He says, here's my simple 3-step process, and people will stop calling you to do things. I said, really? What is it? He said, fuck shit up, whine and cry, show up stoned. I said, what? He said, fuck shit up, whine and cry, show up stoned. He says, if you do this consistently, people will stop asking you to help them for things. I'm like, honey, that's terrible. And he's like, but is it? So here's my question for you. But is it, right? Because if we think about, let's break this down a little bit, shall we? Like, if we think about what does it mean to fuck shit up? Well, maybe it means half-assing it a little bit. Maybe not everything needs to be a Ukrainian Easter egg that's so incredibly perfect and detailed in every possible way. Like, maybe you could just get in there and mess around a little bit, see what happens. You could eliminate the dumb stuff or the stuff you don't want to do. You could just skip over the first step. Most of you are stopped because you think there's some first step you got to do. And I'm here to tell you, most of you could skip the first step. And what that looks like is like, oh, I kind of want to write a screenplay. I should probably read a book about screenwriting first. Nah, fuck it. Go fuck it up. Well, I want to write a screenplay, but I should probably outline it first. Fuck it. Just get in there and fuck it up. Do it the wrong way. Why not? Right? Guess it's getting a C. What a good idea. Veronica says, or even a D+. Exactly. It means becoming a friend with potential failures. Yeah, with it just like going, well, what's the experience about? Who do I become as I try this? Who do I become as I become willing to try it? Who do I become as I become willing to fail at it? I was just doing an interview for a thing earlier this morning, and I said, you know, one of the pieces of leadership advice I give quite often is to put yourself in a position, preferably once a week, in which you are really a rank beginner, in which you are not very good at whatever it is that's happening. I used to do really hard workouts that I was pretty terrible at. I used to sing in choir. I was pretty terrible at that too. Maybe more from lack of confidence than anything else. But it was so good for me every week to be in an environment where I was not the best person in the room. I was not the smartest person in the room. I really had barely any idea what was happening in the room. And I kind of had to dog battle to keep up. I loved it. I loved the strength of character that gave me. I loved the willingness it gave me. I loved the things I found out. Sometimes I found out I was much stronger than I thought I was, or I was a much better singer than I thought I was. Other times I found out I was much weaker and more frail than I thought I was. But yeah, Jude says, what a horrifying idea. I know. So step 1, consider fucking shit up, right? That could also involve ignoring dumb rules, right? Ignore the dumb rules. Just fuck it up on purpose. Whine and cry. Whine and cry. What would it look like if you whined and cried? Well, sounds to me like you're asking for what you want. That sounds to me like you might just take what you want. I'm hungry. I'm having 2 cookies. Meh. I'm not going to pass around the plate first. I'm not going to make sure everybody's had one before I take 2. Fuck it. I'm taking 2 cookies. Deal with it. Right? Being clear on what you want. Right? And stop being so good and brave all the time. Part of the reason everybody asks you to do everything is because you never complain. You never even let people know what the process is. So they think that you're just magically whipping stuff up. To them, it seems like magic. That's why you don't get enough credit, because they just assume it must be easy for you. And for some things it is, and for other things it's not. But you're allowed to say, this was incredibly time consuming. I'm billing you extra hours for this, or this is outside the scope of work. I'm not doing it. Unless you want to renegotiate the contract and pay me more, I'm not doing it. That means saying things like, your crisis is not my emergency. Linda says, whine and cry could also mean accept the emotional impact of your own fear and then move on. Yeah. Let yourself hide in your own skirts for a minute. Let yourself be afraid. Let yourself be heartbroken in advance. acknowledge that little person or the big person who's so worried and afraid of doing poorly and say, yeah, I get it. I see you. Have 2 cookies. See if we can make it better, right? And just as I sometimes thought that writing with a surname would solve this for me. Huh. Oh, you mean like a pen name? Yeah, sure. Write as somebody else. Absolutely. Write as somebody who doesn't care about writing. Write as somebody who doesn't care about succeeding at writing. Just write. Yeah. And then the last, so we've got fuck it up, whine and cry, show up stoned. Show up stoned, I love for so many reasons. Because again, we have this expectation of like, no, I must be at peak performance at all times. You don't really. Most things you could sort of show up at about 20% and you'd be fine. Right. I also like the idea of sort of soft blurring the edges a little bit. When I'm stoned, I'm a little like, oh, I just get a little vaguer about things. I think that's sort of interesting state of mind. It also reminds me of a line from Jane Smiley's book, Horse Heaven, which is a wonderful novel, especially if you like books about horses. And in the book, Horse Heaven, she has a thing that's called the Tibetan Book of Thoroughbred Horse Racing. It's a poster that's on a character's wall in the book in their office. And one of the laws of the Tibetan laws of thoroughbred horse racing is, this struck me so hard when I read it the first time, keep your mind in its own sphere. Do not pay attention or investigate. I remember another one on that same list is, do not hanker after signs of progress. And it blew my mind because I was like, keep your mind in its own sphere. Do not pay attention or investigate. What does that even mean? Is that even possible? What is she saying? And it means, well, I don't know entirely what it means. I'll tell you what it has come to mean for me, which is like, quit scurrying away from your own stuff to pay attention to what everybody else is doing. Quit scurrying away to see how what you're doing might look like to everybody else. Quit abandoning yourself in the middle of doing something. Keep your mind in its own sphere. Stay in your lane. Pay attention to that which is in front of you. Don't worry about what other people are doing. And then that second part, don't hanker after signs of progress. We can talk about that some other time because that is also fucking deep. But to me, show up stoned sort of speaks to that. Like, don't get all involved in everybody else's drama. Just keep your path. I'm also remembering, and I don't know if Tamara's on here, I was planning a live event and Tamara was coming from Israel, PS. It was amazing. We have people from Peru, Israel, Germany, New Zealand. It's crazy. Wonderful. All over the US. It was beautiful. Anyway, as we were planning and creating this event, Tamara sent me a thing from an event she had been to, and it had this paragraph. I'm not going to say it quite properly, but it said something like, hello, it was a Jewish organization was sponsoring the event, and they said something like, we understand that it is part of the complaining is part of Jewish culture, and we respect your right and ability and your exquisite ability to complain. And they said, but we ask you for the sake of this group event to consider, is what they're doing actually wrong, or is it just not the way you would do it? Is it actually incorrect, or is it just not the way you would do it? I thought that was very, like I said, it was expressed very elegantly in this thing, and I really appreciated her sending it to me. And I think I found some way to re-articulate that to the room, to just say, like, there's going to be things that are not going to be quite to your taste, but ask yourself, is it wrong, or is it just not exactly to your taste, right? And could you maybe mellow out for just a minute and see if maybe you might enjoy something that you might otherwise think is not to your taste. Veronica says, do not pay attention or investigate is an astonishing concept to my squirrel brain that loves a puzzle. Yeah, I know, right? You really want to get in there. Yeah, the other thing about showing up stoned is, to me anyway, and of course, it's not for everyone. I'm not advocating, I'm just saying. But I love that but one of the things I love about it is it removes my self-consciousness. It makes me just not notice my own shortcomings as much. It allows me to just pay attention to what's in front of me without worrying about how I look, paying attention to what's in front of me. Christopher says, just out of curiosity, when or why would you choose to show up stoned versus just saying, sorry, I'm not available? Don't you run the risk of damaging your reputation by showing up stoned if that person goes around bad-mouthing you? I'm not saying actually show up stoned. Right? I'm not saying don't show up impaired. right? But you could show up more gently. You could show up less judgmentally. You could absolutely just not show up at all. Say, sorry, I'm not available, or I can only be there for the first 15 minutes. I hope that's okay. You could go and just sit in the back of the room and not participate, not necessarily be the one in the front row with your hand raised. It's going to mean different things to different of you. And I'm not prescribing anything particularly. I'm just introducing you to the idea that there is a way outside of this paralyzing anxiety that you keep putting yourself through, right? Linda says, I take show up stone to be showing up at my desk even if I have a terrible cold. Right, exactly. You don't have to do A+ work all the time, right? Okay, so we've got 2 minutes left, which is a perfect amount of time to do another 90-second process. So flipping your piece of paper over or finding a new back of an envelope, let's go ahead and do another 90-second process on what it might look like if you fucked shit up, whined and cried, showed up stoned. All right, here we go. Don't think about it, just put it on paper. Maybe it means showing up with a Buddha smile. Maybe, yes, I like that very much. Yeah, so what does that look like for you? Fucking shit up, whining and crying, showing up stoned. I'm not sure that my stick figures are quite up to this, but let's see. Here's what's in my mind anyway. Yeah. So again, don't worry about it. Don't try to make it perfect. Just make it expressive in some way. Really, fuck up this drawing. Whine and cry about this drawing. Show up to this drawing stoned. Good. Another 20 seconds. Good. 5. All right, there's our 90-second timer. I wanted to draw 2 people hugging each other. Like if I thought about whining, showing up at something, fucking shit up, whining and crying and showing up stoned, like just being there like, oh, I'm so glad to see you. Oh, I love you. You're such a fuck up and I love you. I can imagine being welcomed with this kind of love no matter what. Even if I didn't home make cookies, even if I didn't come with extra, even if I didn't prepare, even if I didn't read through the entire PowerPoint before the meeting, right? Yes, the Yiddish word for complaining is kvetching. That's correct. That's sort of the opposite of kvelling, right? Good. All right, well, this was, Nenja is totally relaxed and laughing. Others around me relaxed and happy too. Yes. That's the you we want to see. That's the you we care about. That's the you we love. And this is remembering how sometimes, just sometimes, any quick initial sketch has so much more character than something I have perfectionisted. Yes. Right? We don't buy art because it's perfect. We don't read books because they're perfect. We don't love our friends because they're perfect. So why are you making everybody crazy, including yourself, with this perfectionism, right? Julie says, I end up holding hands with all the people going to the sunshine. Guess it's about me being with people. Yes. Shirley says, spring from the bed, flinging covers aside, ready to take on whatever comes. Yes. I love it. So again, this may be a great point of inquiry for you too. These are wonderful little poems, right? Springing from the bed, flinging covers aside, holding hands with everyone, walking towards the sunshine. I love that. So maybe you can make that your little motto for today or for your life. You can journal on it. Again, if you want to, do more with these, I can't recommend it enough. Or, throw it away and don't think about it again. You can't fuck it up. You can't do this wrong. You cannot fuck up your life. Let me just say this again. You can't fuck up your life. Your life is unfuckupable. The purpose of your life is to live your life. The purpose of your life is to experience your life. And you get to do that any way you want. So you decide. Who gets to be in charge? Who gets to make the decisions? Is it the person who's so afraid of being criticized she's not even going to let herself leave the house or get out from underneath the table? Or is it the person who's willing to try and show up and hold hands and make a shitty doodle? I'm holding a bunch of flowers sitting under a tree while a bunch of little stick figures are running around holding clipboards. Linda says, suddenly prolific. I love it. Margaret says, oh, really effective. Just use the motto, just do it anyway. Exactly. Not perfect. Just do it anyway. Standing around the table with favorite people, having fun, not hiding. And Jill says, I always feel better on Thursdays. Thank you. Good. I'm so glad. Yes, let me let you go. We're a little bit over time, but I think this was really valuable. Thank you so much for sharing your time and attention with me. As always, if you have friends that you think might enjoy this, please invite them. And let's do one more breath to close out this circle. You ready? Let's inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you. Thank you, Sue, Kelly, Catherine, Edith. Great to hear from you. Take care, everybody.